Switching it up here, talking Bruins preseason opener. 5-2 loss to the Caps. It was Michael DiPietro in the net. There was no Jeremy Swayman. There were none of the heavy hitters. It's the preseason.
It's the preseason.
It's the opening game. 5-2 final. You don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But Kasey Hudson was at the game. First things first, how was the game?
I mean, it was just nice to be back in an arena.
Yes.
In preseason, as you guys know, that's like the one moment that we get to go be fans again.
Facts.
Like we get to go be a human, a part of a crowd. So that's the part that I was most excited about. That's when I get to watch hockey and not be studying it. But like, was I sitting there like a freak with my notes app open and things are happening and I'm like sitting there pressing it in?
Wouldn't put it past you. On the phone?
Literally, yeah. I could pull it all the way up. So, of course, I got some notes.
That's the beauty of Google Docs. I mean, so let's start with the good. Morgan Geekie scoring. Obviously, he had 33 goals last year. He's going to be a pivotal guy on that first line. Playing on the left wing. We could talk about Pasta's availability another day with the knee tendonitis. But you need a big year from Geekie. With the contract he got, the year he's coming off, and how the depth lacks on the second, third line. What is it? How good is that to see for Geekie to get off right away to a scoring start?
I was so happy that he opened the scoring, especially in the form in which he did it, because in one of the like little scrums after training camp last week, because I got to join Sophia there along with Adam Pellerin and Judd, he mentioned some of the things that he's working on in the offseason and one-timers and just kind of being more swift when it comes to attacking certain passes that come to him to make sure that the rip-off on it is a bit quicker. The element of surprise, we all want to see more of that. That's going to help with the totality of goals, and that's how he opens things up. He gets a pass going, he doesn't blink, he doesn't think twice, he doesn't take the extra touch on the puck, he rips the shot and makes sure that he gets the Bruins up. It's just a quick response from a Capitals team that had a number of players out there that just played a postseason together. So that's another thing to add to the let's calm down preseason game one.
I want to stick with Geekie, actually. How can we make sure that what he did last season is sustainable? Because so many people, when he got paid, it was like, okay, that's deserving, but can he do it again? How can we ensure that when you watch his game, how can we make sure that he can repeat or even be better than a career year last year and it wasn't some sort of anomaly?
It's a realistic approach, because the bottom line here is like the best rhythm that he can have with a Pastrnak and a Lindholm, that's going to make sure that he continues to build off his performance from last year or even touches those numbers. He talked about the fact that, you know, he had a shaky couple months coming out of training camp, getting situated, and there was a number of times where we kind of started to see this rhythm, this beautiful chemistry between him and Pasta, and then it kind of fizzled out a little bit. Keeping pace with a guy like Pasta and his skill set, that's a tall task, but he went into the offseason to make sure that he could check certain boxes so that he can kind of pick up where he left off and where they had tandem, where they had success, where they had chemistry. But another thing that's going to help and contribute to Geekie's success is Lindholm being able to be Lindholm at that center position, because distributing the puck, you got to make sure that you're putting these guys in scoring chances to execute, and everyone's on the same page to make sure that that happens. Geekie's not sweating it. He can't come into this season hyper-focused on matching last year's numbers. It's making sure that he can produce in his individual skill set, because he's playing with two elite guys who should be able to help elevate him yet again.
Cool.
And what about what we're seeing in the net? Michael DiPietro in it. He's been drafted in 2017. He's 26. He's an AHL goalie. Obviously, we know it's Swayman, Korpisalo. What did worry me watching the game, though, is you think of the first goal he let up. That's Sonny Milano, unchecked in the slot. So there are the defensive lapses, but new head coaching, system, younger players, less experience. These are the growing pains where you see what happens in the preseason, don't want to overreact to it. That's just stuff you want to see cleaned up. And again, I asked you about DiPietro, but knowing that this is going to be a guy that will be down in Providence this season, when we see him up here, it should be an emergency context only.
Yeah, only an emergency context, but you said the key word there. Take it back to my geeking notes while I'm sitting there just trying to enjoy a game like a fan, as I alluded to. It was the fact that there was just a number of let-ups and kind of missed coverage when it came to the slot, and that just creates an element of surprise for goalies to try to make sure that they're going to be able to keep that puck out of their net. I've talked about it a lot, too, in terms of like how that was just such an Achilles for a number of goalies during the playoffs. So young guy, he got a large taste of like being able to go against some efficiency when it comes to big scores. The Capitals, again, just considering what they were able to do, being able to have Milano and a number of other key factors in there, it was a big learning curve for him, but you're just talking about different guys between the pipes to make sure this team doesn't let up a number of goals in the first period and play catch up, because that's something that they have to veer away from. That was a part of their identity, unfortunately, last season.
I have a question, and maybe I'm still in NFL mode here, but the NFL has dwindled their preseason down, where it's like basically a glorified dress rehearsal at this point. In the NHL, I was going to ask you about the next opponent, who's the Rangers in New York, but I'm like, damn, 6 preseason games. That's a lot of games. Do you think the preseason's too long in the NHL, or is that just right? Because the NFL trimmed theirs down because it was too long for a long time. Do you believe that? And I guess in the Bruins case, the more preseason games, the better with a new coach and new pieces. I get it.
I mean, maybe for now, but it's definitely a bit too long. But it cuts down next season, and then they extend the regular season to the 84 games. So, I mean, the change-up is coming. But as you said, it works as the factor now that we're heading into a new era with
It's an
Marcus
advantage
Sturrow.
now.
Yeah, and then something else that should be mentioned is that, like, a lot of people were kind of surprised by the lineup that was set for game one because there was a number of vets in the mix. Usually this is where you kind of start weeding out the younger guys to see who's going to go to your farm team, and then you kind of see the veterans more mixed in when it comes to preseason game 3 and so on and so forth. But with this being a new group, with them implementing, you know, some change up in their system, having a little bit of a different training camp too, working on different drills that are pushing these guys out of their comfort zone. I feel like last night was good to see the blend because you need to see how guys are. We talked about this with the Patriots, taking it back to football, the acclimation between veterans and young guys, because some guys, and Marco mentioned this also, they might have chemistry. There might be certain players that play well together, and that might solidify their role on this roster over anything else, because in order to get a new system going and in order to make sure that it is efficient, you need to make sure that guys have an understanding of it.
We saw Fabian Lysell on the ice. We saw Franzer Minten, Matty Patra. Any of those guys jump out at you? Again, those are guys that are going to start the year in the AHL, but very well could be, again, their name called
Minten,
up.
I'm going to continue to make a case for Minten. I really liked his rookie camp, and something that stood out was the fact that you can tell that he was above pace for rookie camp. And then coming into training camp, you kind of wanted to see if there was going to be any sort of fall off, if there was going to be any sort of margin between, you know, the NHL pace and what he did so well beforehand. What I loved about his game, and again, game one, you're going against the Capitals, but he started to really show an effective 200-foot game, in my personal opinion. So he was always in really good positioning. You consistently saw him get in front of the net, and everything that you see on these guys' scouting reports, you just wanted to be able to translate on the next level. Came up big on a few defensive plays also, and then to contribute 2 shots on goal, have a high danger chance. He had a moment, this is where I got back into my fandom, screaming because he goes to the top of the right circle, has this no-look shot on goal, and if it wasn't Logan Thompson there, which again, you're going to go against great goaltenders, yes, but if it wasn't Logan Thompson, that could have been a moment for Minten. So I really kind of liked him establishing his game. He's known for these give and goes. He worked very well in tight spaces and came out of tight coverage with the puck on his stick. This is something that you want to see continue to be developed, and in a system that's claiming that they're going to be all for the young guys getting their chance in moment and opportunity, I'm still making a case for him to be that third-line center. 200-foot game is going to be a requirement for every player on this roster, especially if they start moving things into any sort of hybrid system, and I think he fits the bill.
6'2", 190, and a guy that averaged just over 0.9 points per game his last 4 years of junior hockey. Minten could be a good piece. Third, fourth line, I would take him at center. Same with Patro. You never know.
Okay, Rangers next at MSG. What do you need to see from the Bruins that you didn't see against the Caps here at TD Garden? What do you need to see against the Blue Shirts that would make you feel a little better preseason game number 2?
Better connectivity when it comes to some of the passing. I know that with some of the differences going on in training camp, you're seeing them kind of work off the wall a lot more. And when you have success along the boards, you need to also be able to get the puck into the middle of the ice and have really good zone entry. You saw them trying to have that connectivity. It wasn't as consistent. Honestly, one of the better lines in that sense, and Marco talked about it after the game, the fourth line between Veal, Brown, and Duran. And Duran's been a great surprise, actually. I feel like he's somebody who, again, within the youth movement, can work up or at least have some opportunities throughout the season, but they were the most efficient line. They continue to stay really, really effective in terms of hustle. It's going to be the hustle. Tanner Jeannot, no surprise, led when it comes to hits. The physicality was there. It's the connectivity that we need to see a little bit more of, because you can just see where they were kind of uncomfortable with things that were new for them. So being able to have a little bit more of that connectivity, the chemistry, the passing, finding each other in the right spots, because they were just missing opportunities. Wonky passes coming off of their stick. It needs to clean up versus a Rangers team that's young and also trying to find their identity.
T, what's the date of the last preseason game?
The date of the last preseason game is Saturday, October 4th against the Rangers here at TD Garden.
Regular season opener, October 8th. That's what the NHL has to fix. Why are you playing preseason games October 4th in hockey and starting the regular season October 8th? And that will be Bruins against the Capitals in that matchup as well. So that'll be an exciting one. Hey, it's game 1 of the preseason. I'm with you, Case. Look, you know me, chasing summer. I'm excited to see a sheet of ice in TD Garden, though. I'm excited for hockey season.
I'm telling you can't beat the smell of a hockey rink. Maybe that sounds biased, but I'm a big fan of it. When you walk in and that ice hits your nostrils,
it's true. There are distinct, I mean, I say that about football season, too. Like, when you smell, like, grass cut, like fresh grass cut, it always reminds me of football.
Turning colors, football weather.
There are certain, that's true. You could bottle that. That's a business idea. You could bottle up the hockey rink smell in, like, a candle or something and sell it.
You just got to get, like, Taylor Swift to bless it in some way, then that'll really sell.
George, don't ruin it. We were all on the same page here.
Because that's what gets people to buy it.
It was like the sense senses of sports. What is your favorite sports sense? What does that smell like? Let's throw Taylor Swift on it.
My least favorite, and this could go for any locker room, but the hockey dressing room. Going post game for an interview.
Yeah.
I honestly, I
We're
almost
smelling
forgot for a
gym bag.
second.
Multiply that by 7.
Yeah,
17,000
hockey
actually.
smell. Yeah, you're right about that. That's
Yeah, yeah.
disgusting.
Throw some-
Don't put that in a candle.
Do not, please.
Ugh.
I feel like I get an equivalent of like vinegar and just like a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
that
While
just
we're in the
don't go
nostalgia,
well.
though, the smell of football pads in the summertime that you're playing in practice 3 days.
It's tough, too.
I don't miss that.
Yeah, that's
But I
tough.
do miss it in a way. Makes
So
you
in
feel
other
young.
words, athletes are rank here.
Hey, what are your favorite smells of the season?